Forrest McCormack side by side with Andrew Shaw going round the first corner. It's a very dangerous place to be. There's not much room to manoeuvre here, but on the way down to the hairpin, Forrest is going to dive on the inside. Absolutely brilliant racing from Forrest McCormack here. It's a good exit. So the lights are up, engines are revving. And away we go. Matt's getting off to a pretty good start there. He might actually pit Forrest McCormack to the post here as they come down through the first left-hander. Looks like Forrest manages to get out there onto the front runner spot. Matt's going slightly off the track, with Akshik holding on to third place at the moment, with Paul Maguire in fourth and Andrew Shaw dropping down to fifth place. Greeny making up some positions early in the race, now dropping down to seventh place. As Forrest McCormack looks to get away early here, with Matt trying to keep on his tail at the moment. Matt's making a potential move on the right hand side here, getting the overspeed from the slipstream. Looks to get down to the left-hander first, but Forrest manages to get down there first and close the door, closing it again for the right hand side, not letting Matt get through. But that's definitely going to be a position on the track where the slipstream is going to come into play. I think in a few moments here, as we come through the right-hander and the next left-hander, you're going to see Matt get another opportunity here to overtake with slipstream. Let's go on board with Akshik actually, because he's potentially going to be able to catch up with Matt here. And in the background you can see Andrew Shaw right behind. Matt's getting a good exit up ahead. Not quite as close as I thought it was going to be, so let's go back to the external cameras here as Forrest McCormack and Matt battle their way down to the close of the first lap. We're going to go on board with Andrew here and just see how things look from his point of view. You can see the slipstream kicking in here, and Akshik is not going to have much choice as to what he does now. He's going to let Andrew go around the left-hand side, which is probably going to allow Andrew to slip down into the corner first. But will he be able to translate that into closing the door on the right-hander? Yes, he will. A little bit of a shunt there between himself and Akshik coming through, but nothing too much to worry about. Yeah, gets a good exit of the corner here and slips into the slipstream. Actually, no, staying clear at the moment, so he might have been losing a bit of performance leading on the table. Andrew making a slight mistake there and allows Akshik to sweep on through. But Binding and Soma are switching positions a little bit. Akshik loses out there in the hairpin, allowing Andrew Shaw to break through. Greeny also overtaking, and that puts Akashik down to P6 with Greeny up to P5. In the meantime, Paul has got more to worry about what's going on behind him than what's going on in front. And you can see Greeny really starting to contest for position here, as Greeny exits very closely behind Paul. And a slight correction from Paul allows Greeny the opportunity here to run side by side and potentially go for a switchback, which he may or may not have executed. Looks to be very close, but not quite side by side. And this time Paul's going to be on the inside. But will Greeny get an opportunity here to switch back, as we saw him do so many times in the Super GT League previously? Forrest McCormack still leading the race at the moment with a 1.7 second gap to Matt. You saw Matt early on in the race contending for positions. Looks like Andrew Shaw makes a slight slip up there. Paul Maguire getting stuck in behind, with Greeny almost being able to slip around the outside, but neither driver actually managing to make an overtake work there. The mistake from Andrew coming at just the worst time for Paul to be able to take advantage of it, as he pretty much blocked the circuit with the rear end of the car. So these guys battling in close proximity is great to watch, but not necessarily very good for our lap times. And Paul taking advantage again of a small mistake from Andrew Shaw on the exit of the hairpin there. Gets through, and that is great news for Paul. But Andrew is not going to give up just yet, and he uses the slingshot there, slipstreaming down the right hand side to try and challenge here. But I think Paul's going to be able to close the door here without too much issue. And it's now on Greeny to try and find a way through. Let's just pop over to Greeny's onboard point of view here. And he just manages to miss Andrew Shaw spinning out at the exit of the corner. Let's stay with Paul Maguire here. He's got Kaiser Greeny getting very close now. Slipstreaming down the back straight, and a slight mistake from Paul allows Greeny to get his car side by side, but I don't think he's going to be able to convert that into an overtake because of the right-hander coming up next, and that is the case. On the run down to the left-hander coming up, you can see just how big a gap you can close there. But just how tricky these corners are, especially when you're in close proximity. Paul getting almost slightly rotated there relative to Paul Maguire. Oh, but there's a mistake from Paul, and that allows Greeny to get straight through, no problem at all. Let's watch that on the replay. I think that means that Greeny might be in a good position here to challenge for P3 and hold on to it. The bad news for Paul. I think that's going to be the crucial factor going into the next race as to who is going to be making the mistakes and where those come. If something like this happens in the middle of the race by a lead driver early on in the race, that's going to mean that no one's got anywhere to go to avoid that. But that is the mistake that I was talking about. That is exactly what Akshik wants in order to try and catch up, and he is now going to be slipstreaming off Andrew. Again, moving out of the slipstream for some reason, Akshik's here. I don't know why he does that on this part of the track. I think you want to be using every second of slipstream you can get, although maybe he's aiming for a move later on. It looks like he's setting himself up for a potential attack at the hairpin. Let's see if he can prove me wrong that no one's managed to make a good overtake work here. So into the left-hander, you want to be getting a good exit here to set yourself up for the hairpin challenge. And again, you can see Andrew's actually managed to get through there much more quickly than Akshik, and that's going to probably put Akshik too far behind the challenge. But I think there will definitely be one more lap in play as Matt and Forrest McCormack have already crossed the line. So leader is on the final lap, and these guys have got one more shot. Akshik's going to know that he's only got this lap to go. And he's got half a second to try and close the gap on. Rather than slipstreaming, Akshik's opting to take the shorter line for some reason. As he comes into the left to right here, he knows that that's not going to be too big of a problem as to where you are on the back straight. It's all about the exit from this corner. And I think, without mistake from Andrew in the final corner, that's going to be a P5 for Andrew, a P6 for Akshik. And you can see Forrest McCormack coming in first with no surprise there. Matt's in P2. Kaiser Greeny doing brilliantly there for a podium. Hopefully he sticks around today for an interview because I'd like to talk to him about that one. Paul Maguire picks up 4th place, Red in 7th, Soma in 8th place, Binding in 9th place, so he's getting points today as well. And Nasuru in 10th place. Here we go, lights are up, engines are revving, lights are flashing. And away we go, Nasuru and Neat getting off to a start here, which is pretty good, with Soma sneaking down into 3rd place, with Binding here running in 4th. Early gains from Akshik, Kaiser Greeny and Paul Maguire all making moves early on. Red up in 6th place, Nasuru still holding on to 1st place at the moment, with Neat having dropped down to 4th. Let's go on board with Forrest McCormack and just see how things look here in the swarm at the back. You can see him trying to find a way through, but Neat now causing an issue, but Neat suddenly dives off into the undergrowth, and Forrest going quite deep there, a little bit deeper than he probably wanted to. Manages to sneak up to 6th place there, getting past Paul Maguire. Matt's seemingly up to P2, but that just might be an issue with ACTV. I think Matt's having an issue there. Forrest McCormack having contact with Paul Maguire early on here. That may slow them down a little bit. Let's go back to the front of the pack with Nasuru and Soma
currently running P1, 2 and 3 with Binding in third place. Andrew Shaw moving up to fourth place. Red taking advantage of the reverse grid here up in P5. And Akshik in P6 closing in closely behind. Let's go to Andrew Shaw, who has got Red pretty much side by side. In the background you can see Akashik taking the inside line here and getting past Red. Very nicely done. But interestingly, Forrest McCormack is 1.5 seconds off the pace here compared to Kaiser Greeny, and doesn't seem to be gaining quickly at the moment. Akshik here very aggressive early on in the race, trying to find a way past Andrew Shaw again. Kaiser Greeny in the background looking to try and catch up with Red and getting his yellow Radical a little bit closer. But a pretty good spread of 125s coming in there from most of the pack, with the 124.4 from Forrest McCormack. He is now only half a second behind Kaiser Greeny. In fact, he makes a move there on the inside and gets past the Austrian. And Forrest McCormack is now up to P7, leaving Paul Maguire down in P9 still. As he looks to hunt down Red, he was definitely a lot faster than Red in qualifying here. And I think we're going to see Forrest now looking to try and claim a few positions, with actually making a slight mistake on the exit of the corner. Now to the all-important penultimate corner before the hairpin. We'll see what Forrest can do here. He's going to get a good exit hopefully and slipstream off Red. You can see actually that Forrest takes a much more aggressive line there, cutting on the inside. He's now going to get past Red, who takes an unexpected dive off the track there. You can see how close Forrest was behind, and not much manoeuvring room or time there, but manages to get through unscathed, which is fantastic. Just watch that on the replay. Look how close he was to disaster there. Very close indeed. Forrest McCormack trying to go around the outside of Akshik on the run down to the hairpin, but not enough in there. He's going to go for a switchback, but Akshik sees that coming and closes the door, makes sure there's no opportunity for Forrest McCormack to get through, but that does of course allow Greeny to get ever closer as he looks to try and get involved in this battle ahead. But Forrest McCormack pushing hard now to try and break through, and Greeny will be looking to take full advantage of this as long as he can. And there we go, Forrest manages to sneak it on the inside. He's then going to be ahead on the back straight, but oh, this is getting really close now. So into the final corner we go. Andrew Shaw in P2 at the moment, Binding still leading after almost 8 minutes of race time here. Forrest McCormack side by side with Andrew Shaw going round the first corner. It's a very dangerous place to be. There's not much room to manoeuvre here, but on the way down to the hairpin, Forrest is going to dive on the inside. Absolutely brilliant racing from Forrest McCormack here. It's a good exit, and that puts the pressure on to Andrew now to try and get past. But in the foreground, you can see Binding just holding on for dear life at this point. Now, Andrew Shaw very close behind here. Let's go on board on the run into the left-right-hander. In the background you can see Soma getting a little bit mixed up with Akshik there, and drops down to P6. But Forrest is now well and truly through, and a slight mistake from Binding there means that I think we're going to see Forrest McCormack shoot through on the way down to the hairpin now. Good exit from Forrest as he looks to try and make a move here. Binding gets out of the way, I think. No, not going defensive as Forrest manages to get on the inside line here. Can he get through cleanly? Binding challenging a little bit there, but Forrest is through. Andrew Shaw now looking to cut back and go side by side with Binding. Manages to sneak up to P2 as well, and that leaves Akashik in P4, now hoping to catch up with Binding as well. And Akashik is going to see how long he can hold on to P4 here. Akshik is going to be worried about Greeny though, because Greeny's going to be trying to push hard. In the background, Paul Maguire, who qualified all of these guys, is catching up a little bit more now. Slight mistake from Binding there as the rear end steps out. Greeny now going to make a move on Akashik, going for the cutback potentially. Will he get through Not the best place to try and do a cutback, actually. He wants to try and do it on the next corner. Let's see if he can pull this off. Paul Maguire going very deep, manages to get in on the action and takes over a position from Greeny there, slipping through to P5. That's going to mean that he's now contending for P4. But Greeny isn't done yet, and he comes back on the left-hand side, gets the inside line and does get through. But Paul's going to go for a switchback as well. These two are side by side on the start-finish line as they come through to the first corner here. Paul getting the inside line on that one, and Matt's now very close behind Kaiser Greeny, as Kaiser now slipping down the positions quite rapidly, and Matt gets through as well. Greeny in on the mix here with Matt as they go side by side, but Paul Maguire is through, and Matt looks to be slightly over-rotating there, with Kaiser taking evasive action and thinks he's managed to avoid it. Will he be able to challenge on the way down to the hairpin? Binding, who's got Paul Maguire only 3 tenths of a second behind, as Paul looks to try and sneak his way through. I think he might get an opportunity here on the way down to the final corner. Red looking like he's just made a position up on Greeny, so Greeny's really starting to slip down the ranks now. Binding half a second behind Akshik, with Paul Maguire only half a second behind him, and Matt's half a second behind Paul Maguire, so there's everything to play for still. As Binding gets a little bit sideways through the corner there. Akshik seems to be slowing down a little bit, or these guys are getting quicker. I'm not entirely sure which one is happening. But Paul is very close indeed. We're going to see from Paul's point of view here if he can sneak it past the left hand here. I think that's going to work for him. Leaving room, oh my god, that was so close. Leaving room for Binding there as they bang wheels and doors. Matt's seeing that as an opportunity to catch up here, but Paul is going to have to try and get past Binding here a little bit more carefully. Not that I think that was his issue in the last corner, but he just needs to try and pick his moment to get past without causing too much of an issue here, as they both go skew whiff into the final corner, allowing Matt to sneak through in a stunning turn of events, allowing Matt to get up to P4. I think Greeny has just lost a little bit of energy as Red goes a little bit squirrely on the exit. That's going to potentially allow Greeny to get up alongside, as he does. But Greeny taking a little bit of a wide line there to allow Red to spin without causing too much issue for Greeny. But there it is. There's the spin from Red. Let's go back to Andrew Shaw here. He's got Matt closing in very closely now as they come down the back straight. Matt goes on the right hand side, tries to make a move for the left-hander, but who's going to get there first? It's going to be Matt's. Big lock-up from the wheels of both drivers, and unfortunately Andrew Shaw loses out there compared to Matt's. Again, the pickup from the slipstream not even kicking in yet, so very difficult to make that move work. I think Forrest has crossed the line, so yeah, we're getting another lap, ladies and gentlemen. That means that Paul Maguire is now going to be able to challenge for the P3 finish that he's hopefully going for. You can see Binding and Akashik, I think, side by side as they come through the left-hander here. Akashik not quite managing to get through as Binding just clings on for dear life at the moment. Through T1 they go, or through T2, and now Akashik's going to be able to challenge. We'll see in the background Akashik going way off the track here. He flashes the headlights in frustration. But that is game over for Akashik trying to overtake Binding on that particular part of the course. Boris McCormack finishes in first place with Matt's in P2. Andrew Shaw. Oh no, Binding, no, not in the final corner. Oh, and Binding loses out. Comes P7. Oh, terrible news for Binding. So, finishing positions as Forrest McCormack, Matt, Andrew Shaw, Paul Maguire, Akashik, Kaiser Greeny, Binding. Very unfortunate there.
as Akshik looks to console him. Red in P8, Soma in P9, Nasaru in P10. And that concludes Anglesey, round 2 of the Radical League.